The playoffs are here, and you can predict the action all the way to the finals with FanDuel Predicts. Predict the spread, the total points, and even the game-winning moments that make the playoffs. Sign up and get a $25 bonus with FanDuel Predicts.
Offered by FanDuel Prediction Markets, LLC, a registered futures commission merchant. 18-plus bonus is non-withdrawable and expires 7 days after receipt. Trading derivatives involves significant risk and may not be suitable for all investors. Manage your activity with their consumer protection tools. Restrictions apply. See terms at FanDuel.com/predicts/bonus-offer-terms.
Sunday morning. With us today is the Majority Leader of the House of Representatives, Stephen Scalise. Majority Leader Scalise, we talked on Thursday. There's so much more to talk about. Give me the big picture of the things that we want to accomplish. I know we want to get the war over with. I know we want to get the interest rates down. We want to get a new Fed chairman. Where do you want to begin?
Well, John, there's a lot to do to keep getting this country back on track. As you know, just a year and a half ago, when President Trump came in, there was a huge mess to clean up, and we've been working on that. But if you look, with the One Big Beautiful Bill, we focused on getting better tax policy, trying to get more investment to create jobs in America. And so now what we want to do, right now we're in the middle of a big housing bill. We're negotiating between the House and Senate, and I'm hoping real soon we resolve that. And you get a bill that's going to focus on affordability for housing. It's a huge problem. Young people have a really hard time even buying their first-time home. Costs are so high, it's almost impossible to get the permits to build houses. So you have a shortage of millions of homes in America right now. So this bill's focused on resolving that. We've got a really good permitting bill moving through. We want to open up more American energy, too, John, because American energy has been such a boom in the last year and a half. Biden shut down drilling in the Gulf of America all the way up to Alaska. We opened that up in the One Big Beautiful Bill. And so we want to spur more investment so that we can produce our own energy. And, you look at Iran, you look at even Russia. We shouldn't have to not only get our energy from those countries, but even if you have volatility in those countries, it shouldn't affect our country in the form of high gas prices. So you'll see gas prices keep coming down. We're working on a number of other things to get spending under control, go after fraud. My gosh, John, everybody now knows what a Leering Center is in Minnesota because we started uncovering fraud, giving President Trump and his team the tools to go and root out fraud. They need more. I was talking to Dr. Oz the other day, and there's fraud in, durable medical equipment and, so many other scams that people run to steal billions of dollars of your tax money. We want to give the administration the tools to root it out so people go to jail who are stealing your money and then put that money back in the pockets of hardworking families. We're working on that, too.
I've never experienced this much fraud in the federal government. I am sure that it was always there, but not to this scale. And one of the problems I mentioned to people last week was that nobody goes to jail. I mean, the only people that went to jail on the Republican side under, President Biden was who?
They went after Donald Trump.
They went after Donald Trump. They went after.
That's why you never saw anybody going to jail.
Yeah, and they went after Roger Stone. They went after Navarro. They went after. I mean, they were ready to put them all. Everybody in jail, but nobody goes to jail. And it sounds like the Democrats don't care because they don't think they're going to go to jail.
No, they don't. And in fact, just a few days ago, this doesn't happen often, John. Just a few days ago, we kicked a member out of Congress, a member from Florida, Democrat, shocker, for stealing $5 million tax money in disaster relief. So she stole disaster money from people who need to recover from disasters for herself. And she finally got caught and she's going to face criminal charges, by the way, but we kicked her out of Congress. But there's a zero tolerance. We've got to start exposing it. We are now. But the administration wants more tools so that they can uncover it with illegals. You go look at these sanctuary cities, John. Los Angeles, we exposed it in Minneapolis, and we just scratched the surface with almost $20 billion of taxpayer fraud just in Minneapolis. Now you go look at a city like Los Angeles, where they're right now in the middle of an investigation. And President Trump has taken this serious. You heard him in the State of the Union. This is going to be an all-of-government approach to, number one, identify it, root it out, and then go put people in jail. And it needs to happen so that people see that, number one, they're working hard. They're giving tax money to the government to provide a strong national defense to prevent terrorist attacks, not to allow Somalis to come over here and set up scam organizations to take billions of your tax dollars and send them to terrorist organizations in their home country. It's insane, and it's finally going to stop.
Have we gotten even close to putting anybody in jail from the Democratic Party from all this fraud that was going on?
Well, close, yes. There are investigations. There have been some guilty pleas in Minnesota. You're seeing President Trump being very aggressive with the Justice Department and the FBI. Kash Patel put a detachment of FBI officers down there. And like I said, they're now looking at other places around the country where they're stealing your tax dollars. And so, having, number one, the understanding that if you steal tax money, you will go to jail. That word needs to get out. We need to see more of it on TV, where some of these people are literally being, doing the perp walk because they got busted. It infuriates people. You and I get infuriated by it. Middle class, hard-working families, somebody working 2 jobs, 3 jobs, and then they're watching their tax money go to these fraudsters. That's what we, I think are going to see a big push to identify and root out in Congress, and then ultimately Trump's Justice Department is going to have a zero tolerance for it as well.
Now, the other big bill that's that President Trump needs to pass is, the voting bill. One American, one vote. I mean, do we have a chance of getting that passed?
Oh, my gosh, John. I mean, we sent that bill over to the Senate, the Save America Act. Great bill. Prove your citizenship to register to vote, and then you have to show ID every time you vote. Really basic. You have to show ID to get on a plane. Why not to vote? So it's over in the Senate. They're debating it still. Right now, the other part of that is I have not found one Democrat who's for that bill in Washington. Now, in America, I'd say about 70% of Democrats in America support it because it's common sense. Most Americans do. But in Washington, it tells you something about their party, John, when they think they need voter fraud just to stay in power. And so if you say, we don't want you to show ID to vote, you're saying you want voter fraud. That's the only reason you wouldn't want ID to vote.
Now, I got one more question. That when I spoke to President Trump last week, we got to get, I guess, peace in the world. We got to bring down the price of oil again, which was going to happen. 30 days after the war is over, the price of oil will come back to what it was. And I'm glad he disagreed with the Secretary of Energy, because we've been saying the other thing, that 30 days afterwards it will come down. Now, Powell, all of a sudden, that he wants a pass. And maybe he'll go away. Is that deal ever going to happen? I mean, you're up there in the upper echelon of negotiations. So I just want your gut feeling.
Well, my gut feeling is that we need a new Federal Reserve chair. And his nominee, Warsh, is a great guy. You can tell he's going to go back in there and use the basic economic principles that are supposed to drive the balance between interest rates and inflation in the economy. And when you have inflation going down, which it is, then interest rates are supposed to go down with it. And that's where Powell really has had a problem. By the way, Trump's nickname for him is too late, because when inflation was going up under Joe Biden, Powell missed the mark completely. He thought it was transitory, which none of us did. We all knew because of Biden's spending, inflation was going to go up. And so he held interest rates back, and then finally he had to bring them up so high that it crushed people. People couldn't even buy a house. And so Trump's bringing inflation down. Well, interest rates are supposed to go down subsequently with it. And you have not seen that same reaction from the Federal Reserve. And so president's new nominee, Warsh, is a much better person who understands this dynamic and how those two roles play together. So, confirms him. Right now, it's up to the Senate to confirm him. A couple of Republicans are holding out. They need to get through that. They need to work through that, but ultimately put him in, because you're going to finally see better economic principles being implemented at the Federal Reserve, as opposed to a guy that I just think has lost his way.
Majority Leader Stephen Scalise of the House of Representatives, thank you for your common sense. I wish we had common sense both sides, Mr. Majority Leader. I mean, at least
we've got it on your radio station, and luckily you're going global now. You're not just all across the country. You're being streamed in other countries, and we need that word.
I spoke to the president about that, and he thinks it's, and we both think it was very important to get WABC in Europe to get the truth out, because you know what's going on.
Voice of America, John.
Yes, that's what we're looking to do. Thank you so much, Majority Leader Scalise, and let's talk again real soon.
God bless you.
Thank you.
With you.